This is Jason Simard. I'm here with two phenomenal people that are doing some big things. I got Todd Tramonte down in Texas, and I have Brett Baker in Washington State. Did I get that right, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, today we're going to talk about a topic that is one that's dear to my heart, and it's going to probably get a little fired up and heated on this episode, but we're going to talk about PPC, better known as pay-per-click, Google AdWords, Bing AdWords, whatever you want to call it. It's a phenomenal tool.
He's already shaking his head.
I love it. I can't wait. I can't wait to get into this episode. And so why don't we start, gentlemen? Because there's a lot of people that are wondering, okay, where's the best place for me to go and spend money to generate leads? And, where should I go? So, Todd, why don't we start with you? Because we know Mr. Brett Baker there is going to have an opinion. So what do you think about Google AdWords and pay-per-click?
So I got my pay-per-click Google AdWords campaigns rolling probably 7 years ago to a place that it was a significant profit center in our business. And on the one hand, we've changed almost nothing since then. On the other hand, we tweak our targeting all the time. But as far as our system, I'll start with kind of my blanket philosophy around pay-per-click. We buy consistency, and I'm a really big fan of that. So we can break it down and get detailed later. But yeah, for the better part of the last decade, since it became feasible, profitable, and we could create consistency with it, I've been a big fan. I'm not absurdly loyal to the technology aspect of it, but we love knowing that they're going to be there.
Brett Baker, what are your thoughts on PPC?
It's so funny because I know you are just chomping at the bit because
I know you're going to curveball him right now. Right. I can see it coming.
Of the three of us, I'm the one that has always been anti-PPC. So after you kind of, let's just say, nudged me, that's a polite way to put it, right? Nudged,
classy.
Browbeat me, whatever you want to say, the Canadian way. I have, top secret, I have been running some PPC, and I hate it.
I'll just say that there was no doubt in my mind that you had done that. And as a quick aside for anybody that's watching this, when you see a decent, it doesn't even have to be a decent idea cruise past Brett, just assume that he's gone and tested it probably within the next 4 hours.
Pretty much.
What most of us would spend like 6 months to allocate some budget and watch it, Brett will just like throw it in fifth gear, double heel pound the gas pedal and go, I did it for 4 days and I hate it, or I did it for 4 days and I love it. And so I bought 19 states worth of territory and now I own it all. And as a matter of fact, I'd be happy to sell you some.
Yeah. Well, Todd just summed me up. No. So I have been running it. And in fact, so I took, a long time ago, I had done PPC. And I want to say in my area, it was very, very competitive. And so because it was super, super competitive, go ahead, go Todd.
No, I was just saying, me too.
Yeah, you too. See, I think the thing was I was running it incorrectly when I first tried to run it. And I'd hired someone who was really, really good at doing what he did. But I think what it came down to was it wasn't a good fit for me because I looked at the ROI on it. And for me, with my lead sources that I have coming in and the ability that I had to buy certain lead sources, it didn't do enough for me. Does that say that's not effective? I am not saying it's not effective. I have been running it. I still don't like it a ton. You guys are changing my mind on it. I'm now doing more of like a targeted to who we are. So people search for us, and if they see our ugly pink signs, like ugly pink sign realtor, like that kind of stuff, it's more branding recognition. We are getting some leads from it, but being very honest with you, I don't do it the same way you do. So I could probably learn a lot from you guys. So Jason, this is your baby, man. Like you are like the PPC king, because in Canada, you guys don't have Zillow. I went to Canada like a couple months ago. They had realtor.ca. And I was like, what the is this? This is nuts. I've never ever realtor.ca, no Zillow. Dude, it was like a third world country for me. I didn't know. Like I'm trying to look at there's this waterfront condo and I'm looking on Zillow and I'm like, there's no waterfront. And then I had to go onto like realtor.ca and it's like, welcome to Canada. I'm like, what is this?
Welcome
So
to Canada, eh?
I don't understand. I understand why you need to do PPC, because you don't have that kind of a lead. You don't have my version of a lead source. So teach me how you're doing doing what you're doing with PPC, because I would love to learn.
Sure. So why don't we just quickly, I'll just hit on this. I think we can all agree that 92% of buyers and sellers start their home search on the internet. Would we agree that's pretty logical?
Yep.
So in the United States, Zillow has first page rank on pretty much every single keyword search. Fair to say?
Correct.
And so the assumption with a lot of agents is, if you're not Zillow, there's no opportunity out there. However, there's thousands and thousands of searches in your marketplace that are happening daily that aren't going to Zillow for many reasons. Maybe they don't find the user experience to be as good as a Real Geek site, for example. So there's a lot of money on the table. The other thing with Google AdWords that I love is you can target exactly what you're looking for. So for example, Brett, in your marketplace, you'd mentioned this recently, that there's a lot of people moving into the area from other states, possibly other countries. The nice thing with Google AdWords is I can specifically target that.
Okay.
And which is an awesome opportunity to develop a relationship with those clients early in the buying process, early in the potential selling process.
Sure.
Same thing with us. I'm in a marketplace where there's a lot of people moving from other areas. So what I did when I started in the business is I actually targeted that specifically. All the people that were moving into the area. Nice thing with them is often they don't have a realtor connection. They don't know 20 realtors in the marketplace.
Right.
And if I can be the person that's continually providing value early in the process, when they're ready, we're going to be the people they work with.
Right.
The other thing great with Google AdWords is you can target the type of lead source you want. So for example, if you're a very niche agent and you work a specific area and a specific type of lead, you can go and target that through Google AdWords. So it just makes sense. 92% of home buyers start online. The key is I don't think many people have the patience to convert an internet lead correctly. I don't think they have the systems and infrastructure to do that. And for me, I invested in that infrastructure very early on. So I knew that I could get a predictable amount of leads daily. I knew that with a consistent budget and just running it, I would always have a pipeline of opportunities that we could follow up with. So for me, it was critical in the success of our business. I also knew that 95% of agents will tell you internet leads are garbage because they don't really make any ROI from it. But it's not because they are garbage. It's because they don't have the systems in play. And real estate is a pretty old school thing. I mean, people are still using the same strategies from 20 years ago, which is, repeat and referral, which is an excellent opportunity and a completely different show. So I don't want people to think that I'm not a big fan of repeat and referral, because I absolutely am.
That's like Tramonte's gold mine.
For me to build a business the size that I have in such a short period of time, it would have been impossible without the internet, because I just don't know enough people.
Right.
There's just no way. It's not even like fathomable that I could have done that. So what I like is how hyper focused you can get with Google AdWords.
So the thing that I like, Jason, is that you and I started out very, very similarly. In fact, we've been in real estate pretty much the same amount of time. We're within 6 months of each other, right?
I was November 2015.
You guys don't have to talk crap about how long it took me to figure this out in front of you.
It's true though. I mean, you look at Jason, you've built your client care department, kind of like what we've got. I actually learned that from you. Doing that moved us into a different level. Todd is like the referral king. I learned referrals from Todd. By the way, I owe you a big thank you. Our referrals now are through the roof. But I think really, I agree with you, Jason, that a lot of people don't know how to follow up with leads. I think any lead source can be good if the follow-up is correct. Where I screwed up with PPC when I first did it is I tried to convert those people like I would convert a Facebook lead or like I would convert a Zillow lead. Yep. And there is a huge difference from what I've found between a Zillow lead, a Facebook lead, and a PPC lead. The Google PPC, the leads come in, that's for sure. I just didn't understand how to follow up with them at the time. I'm sure if I reran it, we could reanalyze it. I don't need to, because we own so much of Zillow at this point. I mean, 30 to 40 leads a day. I got more leads coming in than I can handle.
So here's what I would try to contribute to your consideration of PPC. And I think the thing that Brett's saying that's so valuable for everybody is there's some really awesome stuff out there that you shouldn't do because you don't need to, or it doesn't fit your model or whatever, right? But there are some things that you should consider, and you should always sort of be scouting, an additional lead source or whatever, in some limited portion of your time or whatever. But I'll say a couple things really quick. I am in a market that has Zillow and has Realtor.com, and we've done Dave Ramsey leads and all these different sources that are potential. And we still really like the pay-per-click aspect of the business. And I'll tell you right now, our pay-per-click ROI is somewhere between 671%. It's somewhere between, a 7 times return and about a 15 times return. And depending on the time of the year and the flow through of closings, it's been as high as 20 to 1.
So wait, go back. What did you just say?
Yeah, you heard it.
Wait, what was that? Again, so, the time return, how many times return?
Between 7 and 20.
So give us, can I ask a question there?
Yeah.
So what's your annual budget on Google AdWords right now, for example? And
so I'll tell you what it is, and then I'll tell you why it changes. This year, our annual budget will be probably a little over 30,000.
That's your annual budget?
Annual.
You want to know a scary number? That's
your
what I spend
your
on
monthly Zillow budget?
That's what I spend on Zillow every month.
Yeah, that's what I figured you were going to say.
But
that's why I said it that way. But and you're doing more transactions and sides than me. Everybody understands that.
Well, okay, hang on. 8.9% or 8.9x this month on Zillow is what we're doing.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, obviously, I've got other lead sources as well. This is not our top one, but it's one of the top ones.
That's still remarkable.
Well, and what I was going to say is, if I'm in your shoes and I'm saying, cool, I got Zillow, it works, it's super profitable. I'm not replacing it with this.
Right.
But what's the ideal client that I'm not hitting there? Or what's the more ideal client I'd like to go after? And maybe I'm only looking to pick up another one a week. To Jason's point, you can target so much more specifically. As a matter of fact, you can target exhaustively, as specifically as you want. I think most people that watch our show or have followed any of us individually or whatever know that sort of my niche angle here is that I'm not trying to compete with either of you guys on total units or necessarily even revenue sold. I'm a big fan of competing on GCI and net and those things.
Right.
But what we're looking for is the ideal client. And we turn away a lot of potential clients that aren't ideal, that would be happy to work with us. And that's not like, look how cool we are, we tell people no. That's saying, hey, we've learned where we excel, and we want to work with people there will be a lifetime value element to, because they are the ideal client. And we know that person is someone that owns a nice house now, wants to buy a nicer house, shares the values that we have, and is super socially connected and highly likely to repeat and refer. Participate in our Raving Fan Club, attend our events, connect. We have an ice cream event next week, and we expect a lot of these people to show up and bring some of their friends. So there's a lot of ways we target and sort of negatively target, like exclude certain people because we want that ideal client. Now, other marketing like radio is a very different return, very different purpose, but it's nowhere near as targeted because you're blanketing massive geographic area. And in my market where there's over 6 million people, there's a lot of those people that I'm trying to weed out. And so radio does one thing, pay-per-click does another very focused. One's a shotgun, one's a sniper rifle. Right. And then there's a few other things too. Back to Jason.
Can I stop you?
Yeah.
So you spend about $30,000 this year.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of return are you expecting from that $30,000?
I'll tell you anything you want to know. You tell me what you really mean. Gross, net, revenue, sides.
Give me, so you're going to spend $30,000. How much are you going to actually generate in revenue from that?
It should be somewhere, if you're doing 7 times, it should be somewhere around 210, 215,000.
Yeah, and it'll be more because the really funny thing is we close out the year unbelievably strong, and we actually really dominate the internet leads in the fourth quarter, which
we're the same way.
No one else even thinks about doing. They just go into hibernation, and we tiptoe out and grab market share. And so it'll probably be 300 to 400 in GCI.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
And
phenomenal.
obviously that's scalable. Jason right now is going, why don't you turn the volume knob up? And the answer to that, and the reason I said when you asked that question, is the reason it fluctuates is we only add an agent to our team when we have more opportunity than we're currently getting to. And so when we add someone, there's probably already bandwidth for them, but we usually crank it up and give them a disproportionate number of leads in the short term to ramp up their pipeline. And so that budget will ebb and flow because of that, but otherwise we don't need a ton more leads than that. Like Brett said, I mean, a lot of people are thinking more is better. And then you get to a point where more is not better. Quality is better and follow-up is better.
We're at the point right now where we're so oversubscribed that we turn away more listings than we take.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's honestly, that's where I want my business to be. I mean, I'm literally in my last like 3 months of doing this before I turn it over to my other half.
Did I send you the book Oversubscribed? Did we talk about it?
You did. And that's a great book. And I suggest anybody read it. And it's crazy to be able to take that book. Jason, have you read it?
I haven't. No.
I'm sending it to you. Like you go like on Kindle or something and get it right now.
I think I sent it to you while we were recording one of these.
You did.
Like,
You did.
Yep.
It was, you know what? It's one of those books that once you start turning that and applying it to your real estate, it really takes you to an entirely different level. We have right now, coming up next week, we have 3 listings coming on next week. We're capped out. We tell people that. But I think the idea is, Jason, I liked where you're going with PPC. I think the issue that I have running it is I don't know where to start. I know I need to do it, but I don't know where to start. I think a lot of people, myself included, I was this way for a very long time. We are very fixated on one lead source. I was like, Zillow, baby. It's all about Zillow. The problem is Zillow changes. Their algorithm changes. Their lead, the way they hand off leads, all of that changes. Facebook. Dude, when you and I started this, you were huge Facebook, just like I was. How much are you doing on Facebook these days?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, you. How much are you doing on Facebook?
I still boost my videos, like my listing videos, and I still put content out there. So I haven't altered that too much. Does it have the same effect that it did? It's still effective, but not quite as effective because the algorithm changes. But then we're making changes so that we can create more engagement in our videos and get better. But I think the key thing here is not that PPC doesn't work, because it absolutely can work with the right infrastructure and the right systems and follow-up. I think the thing is you can't have 10 different things that you're doing. And so why Brett doesn't do PPC as much as other lead sources is not because Brett doesn't believe me when I tell him that he should. It's the fact that Brett's got so many other lead sources that are sort of foundational pillars to his business that he doesn't really need that ROI right now from that source, because there's only so much you can handle, right? Because otherwise you have to start adding people to your business. And so Todd has realized, look, he has 3 foundational pillars to his business. He's got his referral business, his radio, and then his pay-per-click. Am I right, Todd?
Yep.
And so when he's making business decisions, he's looking at those 3 sources and deciding, okay, how much am I going to allocate to those? But those are all steady pillars. One year one might be a better ROI than another year, but the key is that they all produce a consistent return. I have the same philosophy with my business. I have 3 foundational pillars. So I have my Google AdWords, or my internet leads, I call it, my social media strategy, which is more like mind share, put yourself out there so people know your brand recognition, and then my referral business. And I put appropriate budgets in those 3 things. So when it comes, if you're going to be starting, say you're a new agent and you're watching this today, or you've never run a Google AdWords campaign, I'm going to save you some heartache right now. Okay. I'm going to make it really easy for you. Don't get into Google AdWords or any internet lead source if you don't plan on actually putting the appropriate follow-up in play. And what I mean by follow-up in play is you need to be able to have an immediate response to those internet leads. You need to have a strategy on how you're going to follow up with those with multiple touch points, which is email, text, phone calls. You have to speak to these leads at some point, or else you'll never convert them. So you have to have infrastructure. Then you need to think, okay, if I'm going to scale this, who are the right types of people that should be following up with these internet leads? Because I can tell you right now, for me, the key to our success has been handpicking the right people for the right positions. It's like if you're running a successful team, a football team, you have to have the right people playing the right positions. You can't have your quarterback playing wide receiver. So think of your real estate business in the same sense. You have to have all the right roles.
Does anybody just notice that the Canadian just lectured us on football?
Yeah, I was biting my tongue.
Yeah, me too. I was like, where's the hockey call? Come on.
Yeah, I got a couple of throw-in thoughts here for Brett and Jason and pretty much everybody. But one of them is that I think the three of us are going to start a consulting company where we do absolutely nothing for you except for we send you a book once a month. It's the right book for you at the right time. Now, Jason will not read it. Jason's advice to the marketplace has been to stop reading. I want everybody to be clear on that. Joke. One of our other episodes, he ended it by saying, "Quit reading books, just do stuff," and everybody knew what he meant. But I think we'll charge like $100,000 a month, and we'll just send you one book, and you'll get millions of dollars of value out of it. It'll be great. I'm joking.
I really do like that idea.
It actually could work. But and I do know someone that has a similar business model. But what I'm really want to add here is, number one, you've got to target the right clients for you. Right now, Jason's talking about as a team leader, you've got to have people in the right seats, and you have to have the right people. And then you got to get your marketing in order so that you can service it well. And I think every single one of us has probably shared on a video or an audio or given away our lead follow-up system. I mean,
right.
I've given mine away thousands of times, and I'm happy to do it again if somebody wants it. But there isn't necessarily one that's the right one either, right? It's right. You just have to have a plan. You've got to have a system. You've got to be aggressive. You've got to be willing to hear no. You've got to be willing to keep following up. And then it can be a Zillow lead, a Google lead, a Bing lead, a Yahoo lead, Facebook, open house. This doesn't need to be a long discussion about why PPC is better than other things, right. But it's a conversation about how, in my opinion, pay-per-click can be one of the primary pillars of your business. And the reason it can be considered as one of yours is because it gives you the ability to create consistency. And I want to talk a little bit, if you guys are in, I want to talk a little bit about SEO and where that fits into this picture of lead gen, because I know a lot of people that are like, oh no, I don't do pay-per-click. I don't mess with that purchase traffic. I generate my own. I'm a purebred. This is only the finest quality. My apartment smells of rich mahogany, And the truth is, there's a lot of volatility if that's your approach, because those algorithms change too, and your business might change. And what I love about pay-per-click is I can tweak what I'm after, and in a matter of a day or two, I can be right back to a consistent flow of opportunity. Now, there are times where quality might ebb and flow, and we can make those changes, but I can know that if I tell a team member, I'll get you a brand new lead every single day or more, that I can continue to do that. And once they have a critical mass and what we call kind of the well of a bunch of them, they really shouldn't have a whole lot more than one a day or more. Now, obviously we have some different inside sales, business development, client care methodologies, but I don't think any agent can handle a whole lot more than that. And I don't think that their client care, there's a point where they can't follow up well if they have a whole lot more than that. They're different numbers, but there is a threshold there. There is a sweet spot. Okay. And so you need to be thinking about, even if you're a huge SEO fan, can you deliver on your promises to your team members? Can you deliver on your promises to your buyers and sellers with a consistent flow of opportunity? And that's where I think pay-per-click fits really, really well.
Quick 10-second break to tell you about our sponsor, Real Geeks. Todd, Brett, and Jason all use Real Geeks as their website, home search, and prospecting database. Check it out at realgeeks.com. Now back to the show.
Question. I think the thing that people struggle with is sometimes they get caught with like an ego point on something. And I think this is what I like about Brett. Brett's got an ego and he's got his thing that he does. But what I noticed with Brett is if you actually get Brett in a room with a bunch of really smart people, he's the guy that does the most listening and takes the most notes. I don't know if that's something people don't know about Brett, because he's always the first one to give like advice, but he's actually the first guy to actually listen when he gets into a room. And so the biggest thing is being able to identify where you're maybe possibly wrong, or maybe your ego's getting in the way and you're trying to hold a position on something. And we all do that as human nature, but be open-minded, but also understand that you can't do 10 things. You can't you can't be a master of everything. So figure out, I think this is something we've all figured out early on. Figure out what your pillars are. And I know I talk about this a lot, but figure out what your things are and base them around your strengths. I'm really good on the phone. So for me, that was an area of strength. So for me to build a business using the phone made sense. Now, for some people that may be being face-to-face with people, you know, so open houses might be a foundational pillar, and maybe internet leads won't work for them. So you have to be sort of self-aware. Don't just go and invest in a whole bunch of online lead generation if you haven't really thought about the most important critical element of it, which is the follow-up and conversion that goes into it and the skills that are necessary.
So I want to dive in on that for a second. Here's the number one thing that drives me insane about 2/3 of the agents that we hear talk. Okay. The number one thing that is, how do I automate this? Hey, Brett, we see that you automate. How do I automate? How do I automate? I don't want to pick up the phone. How do I automate? You have Ava. How do you use Ava? I want to use Ava. I don't want to make phone calls. And what drives me nuts about that is people are trying to automate prior to them doing the work. Yes, I have automations built in. You bet I do. But I'm going to tell you right now, I made the calls. I made the calls. I made the texts. And that was all me at one point. When Jason, when you and I got into the business, it was us. Like it was just you. It was just me. I only had me. I
only had me for way longer than you guys.
Yeah. Todd, back then, okay, phone book leads don't count.
Hey, listen, dot matrix was a beautiful technology.
I bet it was.
I'm going to plug in one thing just to support what you're saying from a different perspective, right? Like one of my gifts is languaging on the phone and scripting and things like that too. And I've realized that time that I haven't led as well as I could have at modeling that for my team members that hadn't been to war with that as much, right? Just like you're saying, people want to automate it before they've done it.
Correct.
It's also good to get back in the trenches every once in a while.
Agreed.
And update your automation and things like that. So what I've been trying to do lately is get out there with the team and directly prospect exactly what they're doing. So yesterday I sat down with them. We actually set up a Zoom and we're recording. And I jump on the horn and I made 4 calls during our team role play session. And you guys know why I only made 4 calls. Because I made 2 contacts and I set 1 appointment and I set up a really solid warm follow-up. And I hung up and I said, hey guys, I got to run to an appointment after this, but I've got about 10 minutes left. Do you want me to make more calls or do you guys want to debrief on what I just did? And the room was kind of split, but we decided to debrief. And it's fun. I mean, these people know me well. They work with me every single day. And they basically said like, how do we do what you just did? And I'm like, guys, you know, this is what we train on constantly. Yeah. But the intangible is the level of confidence that I have when I get on the phone, right? And I have that level of confidence because I've done it thousands of times. I've set hundreds, if not thousands of appointments, and I've taken hundreds of clients from that work, whether it be buyer, seller, FSBO, expired, home search, old school, you know, motivated seller leads, whatever. But when you have that level of confidence, by the way, that's what you need to build great automation. My other thought on the automation piece, though, is there are some things you should not automate, right? Yeah. Over automation is a plague in our business right now. You know, it's like I want to automate my lead gen. I want to automate my lead follow-up. I want to automate my lead conversion. And like, I'd like to send a robot to closing. And then I'd like an actor to do my past client follow-up. Like, what are you doing here? Like, how is this possibly a business that is going to last if you don't want to do anything, right?
It's funny that you bring that up, Todd. It's funny that there are so many people that I think would rather just automate everything. And it's like, you know, everybody's afraid that the real estate industry is going to change. And here it is. They're the ones that are actually automating us out of business.
They're funding the disruptive innovation. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it's kind of funny. So I want to touch on what you just did there, because the other day someone brought up to me in the office, you don't even know how to talk to a buyer anymore. Oh. Full disclosure, I haven't talked to a buyer in probably 8 months. Full disclosure. The phone rang, and guess who picked it up?
Yep.
This guy. Converted him on the spot.
Yeah.
And it was literally, everybody kind of looked at me like, how did you do that? It's like, because I did this. This is what I did.
I woke up in the middle of the night doing this.
Yeah. If you want me to sit in there and do that, I will.
while you guys are sitting there, like, oh, look at me, I got on the phone and booked 2 appointments and 4 phone calls. The reality of it is what you're not probably telling these people is the whole bunch of other phone calls that didn't go as well as what you're telling us, because you're giving us your highlight reel. But just a little reality check, guys. It's not like that. So it's not like you're going to become a master and every single time you talk to a prospect that's going to convert, because it doesn't work like that. Todd got on a good run. He got a couple good opportunities. Obviously had the skills to convert them. I'm not saying taking that away from him, but he may have had to been on the phone for 2 hours to get that result. And that's something that I want people to really understand from this webinar or whatever we're doing here is it's consistency. It takes follow-up. It takes time, and it's not going to be a get-rich-quick scheme. Okay.
No.
So, as much as it's great, like, yes, we've all gotten to a high level where we feel maybe there's some level of mastery there. We are still students, always evolving, always talking. How can we improve this? How can we tweak that? Brett Baker has a new thing every 5 minutes that he's trying. But, for us, me and Todd, we like to kind of stick to our principles a little bit more and stick to what we know works. But what I will say is this: if you can figure out how to connect with a prospect early, build value and trust early, they will eventually become a client.
Agreed with that.
I can say. And that is where we spend 90% of our focus when we're working our opportunities is there. Is 90% of our time is value-based follow-up, connecting, building trust and value. And we do not rush the appointment. We do not rush the appointment. We actually spend the time necessary to get deeper so that we understand the hidden opportunities that they're there, their motivation levels, their whys, and we do it in a way that makes people feel really comfortable and engaged, and it's through our questions. So I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, no, I think that's all great. And I'll just real quick say, that was part of our debrief yesterday, is everybody was like, dude, how do I do that? And I stopped and I just said, do you guys have any concept of the number of times I sat here for 2 hours and had 0 quality conversations? Do you guys have any idea of how many times I did everything right and didn't get the appointment? Do you have any idea how many times I hung up out of humiliation because I said something stupid? Yep. Do you have any idea how many people have no-showed me for appointment? All those things. But another point I want to make, absolutely with all humility, you gotta put in the time, you gotta put in the work, you gotta work your numbers. It's a game of numbers. But once you show up with that level of competence and confidence, your numbers do improve. Now listen, when I pick up a phone and start calling, I have no control over more people picking up outside of calling at the right times and calling the right leads. But beyond that, I will say this: my numbers are going to be better than a lot of our newer agents or someone who's in training. And it's not just knowing what to say and having a bunch of experience. It's a level of confidence. And the confidence comes from being in the trenches and reps, right? So there is a difference in the number of them that are going to turn into warm conversations for me versus a newer team member, or me or going to turn into an appointment. And that's not just learning the skill. It's building your confidence and being willing to show up every day and detaching yourself from the outcome sometimes. And I think some of that's what Jason's getting at. Like, if someone tells me no, okay, great, we'll follow up later. Now's not the right time for them. I'm not going to push them. But on the other hand, when I can tell someone is motivated, but they're a little confused and that's their resistance, then I am going to dig a little bit deeper. And so the first 5-10 seconds of you following up on these things, your confidence and your competence will change the outcome significantly. So you got to put in the work. I don't have any magic ability to make people answer the phone, but if you're popping in and out of consistency with doing this, you'll be popping in and out of success and ultimately probably burn out and fail here. So
I think it's funny though, Jason, that you say that I'm doing something new every 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to filter that, but I'll let you.
I'll touch back on this. I have a very, very set core way of we do things. It's evolved to where we are now. If I didn't have a set way of doing things, we wouldn't be doing the kind of business that we're doing. There's no possible way. We do try a lot of stuff because we have the funds available to do it. We have the manning available to do it. And we have the lead flow to be able to do it. If I wasn't getting 30 to 40 leads a day, I wouldn't be able to test a lot of the stuff that I do. But you can bet. So a little fun story, when all 3 of us were actually down in Texas at some Real Geeks fun little thing that we did, Tramonte, myself, Jason, Corey, we were all at your office, Todd, and you were talking about your referral program. And I'm literally sitting there. I don't know if you saw me. I was sitting there on my phone texting our admin back here that we needed to do that. By the time we got to Tri-Cities, we had a follow-up plan in place for everybody that was one of our past clients. We had a website set up for the Baker Team Fan Club. We literally had re-implemented everything that you had taught me while we were there.
Yep.
And
that wasn't the only thing you did like that while you were here too.
No, we did a lot.
That was going to be my filter. And Jason knows that. He's not criticizing. He's just
poking fun.
The difference of pace. But what I was going to say is, and this is what I said earlier about you slamming two heels on the gas pedal, is what Brett's got the funds and bandwidth and staff to be able to do is to say, I'm not going to stop doing what works. I'm not going to stop doing my core things. But I will add something for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or a year. And I'll also pull the plug on it because I don't need to keep trying stuff, Yep. So I think that's a takeaway that people can take in a really positive way. But you can't, and this is where Jason is always helpful to caution people, you can't go do that and be all schizophrenic until you have a core business built, until you have your 2 or 3 or 4 pillars or whatever. Trust me, Brett's got pillars in his business, and he's got people on his team that aren't touching any of this other stuff, right? They're doing what they do every day. And then Brett's got the bandwidth to go, hey, let's try some park benches. Hey, let's try vehicles. Okay, that worked. Let's go get 8 of them real fast. Where, some other people would be like, oh, that's neat. I have one, right? And so I think that's the distinction to take is no one is going to succeed in business without failing and without testing and without trying. And in the beginning, you've got to fail and test and try your way to get to your core 2 or 3 or 4 lead sources, principles, methodologies, right? Yep. And then once you get there, that's what I was saying earlier, is you should always be looking at maybe one more. Could this be better than you're top grading your lead sources, you're top grading your team members, you're top grading your fundamental core values and things like that. Now, we said we were going to talk about pay-per-click today. It all perfectly fits because for 2 of the 3 of us, pay-per-click are one of our core deals. And for 1 of the 3 of us, pay-per-click is in sort of a testing mode. Yep. And for the second go around. And that's perfectly sensible for all 3 of us. Now, if you're out there trying to add your first pillar, like Jason said, this could be a great first pillar, but not if you're not willing to put in the work over thousands and thousands and thousands of lead follow-ups so you can customize and create your pillar, your system, your core piece of your business before you ever go add your second pillar or before you add someone else to work in that first pillar. And I think we're all in complete agreement on those fundamental ideas.
So I have a question for both of you. Jason, who manages your PPC? Is it in-house or is it hired?
No. I've never run a Google AdWords campaign myself ever, and I've never wanted to learn. I know that may sound stupid, but there's only so much that my brain can handle. Right. And I'm a big fan of just doing what I'm good at and letting others do what they're good at. So I look for experts. I wouldn't encourage anyone if they have some budget, and we're talking it's probably $400 to $600 a month, I think, to have somebody manage your campaign for you. If you have those types of funds, your time will be better spent doing income generating activities, in real estate. So no, I don't do it myself.
Todd, do you do yours? Have someone in-house or hire it out?
I don't do it. I have someone that's not in-house, that's not on my staff do it. Okay. And it's the same exact person I hired 6.5, 7 years ago. They've done a great job. I'm not messing with it. And now again, we tweak and we adjust and we retarget and we target higher quality, and sometimes seasonally things change or whatever. And I've referred that person an absurd amount of business. I've told a ton of people who it is. If you want to know who it is, just shoot me a note. I'll be happy to share with you. Todd at toddtramonte.com. I'll share that with you. But I'll just say, I won't spend a lot of time on it because I agree with Jason. Like, I'm really good at a couple of things. I'm horrible at a lot of things. Yep. I think it's easy for my team and my wife and a lot of people to kind of joke that I hate technology, which is not true. I love technology. I don't enjoy spending a ton of time tinkering with it. And you're not going to be good at pay-per-click management if you're not in there all the time tinkering, because it changes, right? I want to be on top of the changing real estate market pricing trend in marketing.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on top of algorithms within Google and long tail keyword follow up and click rates and click through rates. And I get it. I know enough to be able to keep an eye on it. I look at the reports, but I don't want to manage that. I'm not the right person.
I think the thing that I think where I was going with this is you have two people that are doing this extremely successfully. Neither one of them is managing their own Google PPC. And I think the reason for that is they see value in bringing other people in. I know that Real Geeks does that. Real Geeks has a PPC system that they use. It's a program that they offer people. It's super cheap. I think that's something that if you're thinking about getting into PPC, that's a really good avenue to start. They know the Real Geeks system. They know how it works. They have success with it. Personally, I hire mine out as well. Like I said, I'm starting to dabble in it a little bit. I'm seeing some good results with it. That said, I'm not trying to get 500 leads out of this. I'm trying to get really good quality leads out of it. And so anyways, I think we've covered a lot here. I really have. I think everybody gets the point, myself included, that PPC is the way to go. But I think the big trend here is build a core business. Once you build that core business, Jason, you taught me this. You build your 3 pillars, or in my case, 4 pillars. You never, ever you keep those 4 pillars or 3 pillars or 2 pillars, however many pillars you want, but keep it small. Keep that core business. And yeah, if you have the funds and the people available to add something, add it.
Yeah. And I would say this, we're talking about primary pillars. We're talking about big lead sources. If you think about a marketing funnel, which is everybody's favorite phrase right now, you got a big wide mouth to your funnel. You need 2. I think 2's not quite enough. 3's enough, 4's fine, but you start getting too much beyond that and you can't focus on it.
Correct.
So I have 3 main feeders of opportunity. Now I have dozens of other sources of business, right?
Right, but your 3 main funnels.
Open houses. I mean, there's a lot of other things, but those are the 3 things that will never get neglected. They get priority with budget. They get time, energy, focus. They get inspected, followed up. There are meetings to keep an eye on those things. There are people that are accountable for results in those environments. And there's other places that we might pick up 3 or 4 or 5 transactions this year that we're like, man, that's awesome. Don't forget about that. But that's not going to get a ton of our time, energy, and attention. Right. And we are building what will already is a significant pillar, but it's still not competing with any of those top 3, because it really impacts all 3. And it's basically, for lack of a better term, overgeneralized as videos, right? So I was already doing some videos in YouTube. I mean, we do this so that we encourage and sharpen and help each other, right? The fact that we share it with everybody is an added bonus, but we are also doing this because it helps us. We're masterminding with each other. And one of my big takeaways, Brett talked about some of his takeaways. One of my big from both of you guys was we could be doing so much more with video, right? And now we are, and we're seeing results. That's a long play, but I envision that will for sure overtake 1, if not 2 of our other pillars eventually as a significant primary lead source. But we're giving that some time and attention, but it is not allowed to take anything away from those 3 primaries. So just in case people are thinking like, oh, well, I have more sources, that's great, but you're only going to have a small, less than a handful that get significant time, energy, and budget until they're really, really established and you start to add more. Yeah, Jason.
Maybe we can wrap this up. I'm going to end on this note. So this is for people listening that they can take away. So number 1, if you are going to embark on the journey of say Google AdWords or something like that as a lead source, make sure that you spend some time investing in your skills and that your questions that you're asking are around that, not who do you hire, who do you do that? Because I think we can all agree there's lots of people that are qualified that could run your campaign for you, and I think it's in your best interest. The other thing is you need to understand that it's going to require a budget. So you might have a great website, but that's just like having a really nice Ferrari, but with no gas. So the Ferrari without gas sits in the driveway. The gasoline is what's going to drive the vehicle. And that's what things like Google AdWords, Facebook, all these different lead sources are meant to be. So if you're going to get into this, I would suggest a minimum of about a $30 a day budget for Google AdWords if you're going to go down that path. But $30 a day, you're looking at about a minimum of $900 per month. add in a website, add in, marketing costs for having a manager, you're easily $1,500 per month. Now that may seem like a lot to some of you listening to this, but this is the truth and the reality. Without that type of budget, you're not going to really get any traction from running a Google AdWords campaign or something like that. So you need to understand that. You also need to run it for a minimum, in my opinion, of 12 months. So we're not talking about $1,500. We're talking about, say, $20,000, $25,000. That's what you need to think about and budget for the entire year. And then once you've set it in motion, all your attention then needs to be on follow-up and needs to be on bringing value, building rapport. We have our client care managers. They run conversion clinics. They can help you. If you are looking for that, they can provide some value. Reach out to us anytime and we'll help you in that front. Todd's an amazing coach, Brett as well. So all of us have experience and can really help you there, but that's where your attention needs to be once you've made that commitment. So if you think you're just going to pay $100 a month and get a website and all of a sudden it's going to make you a bunch of money, that's a lie, and it's not true. And anybody selling you that is lying to you. So if the internet is a place you want to go, you do have to have a budget. So that's the note I want to sort of end on. And the return's there. But don't be so obsessed with how many leads you're converting and why some of these people aren't calling me back and why there's some bad phone numbers, because that's all part of it. There's always going to be a percentage of them that are bad phone numbers. There's going to be a percentage of them that are fake leads. This is about consistency. It's a numbers game. And just to give you a tangible number, if you can attain a 2% conversion rate in your first 12 months, you're doing very, very well. Okay, so plan around a 1% conversion, but strive for a 2% conversion with this type of lead source, and you will get a really good return on investment. And then you can continually focus on improving that over time. But it's just something you got to just take massive levels of action with. And so I wanted to make sure people were clear about how much they should be expecting to spend if they want to get a return from it. Yeah,
I think that's great. And I also think everything Jason just said about adding pay-per-click is true for almost any marketing source. If you don't look at the full cash flow cycle of that and give it time to develop, don't even start. Brett, final thoughts?
I think Jason, I'm going to touch just basically on what you just said. It all comes down to follow-up. I don't care where you get your leads from. I mean, there's really no bad way to generate leads. Obviously, if you go steal them off of somebody's desk, that might be a bad thing. But I mean, it all comes down to the follow-up. It doesn't matter where the lead comes from. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter what kind of lead it is. I think most people get caught up on, is this a good provider? Is this a good provider? Is this a good lead source? Is this a good lead source? Who cares? As long as you have leads coming in and you have a follow-up plan for them and you're doing the follow-up initially before you hire anybody else, you're doing the initial follow-up. You're setting that bar. And then every now and then, you dive in like Todd and I do. As long as you have a great follow-up system, you're going to do fine. I do believe that you do have to spend money to make money. I am living, breathing proof of that. I mean, I'd be more than happy to share where I spend and what I spend. It's scary. But I truly believe follow up. And I think we need to do a video on how we do follow-up, on how all of us do follow-up.
Yeah, we could share our follow-up systems and do a little role play scripting and stuff. I think that'd be really good. I think we've given about what's worth it on this topic. Who wants to do the official wrap up here?
Jason, it's your baby, man.
Land the plane. Land it.
Look, we've got three different perspectives, three strong agents with different markets. But at the end of the day, we do have a lot of commonalities, but we do challenge each other. If there's anything we can help you with, the whole point of this is to help people because we genuinely care. Reach out to us anytime. We'll always look to make time to help you. If there's topics you want us to cover, comment. We'd love to know where we can provide more value. And at the end of the day, just know that you're not in it by yourself. We're all here to help you. So it's a big community out there, and we're big on just sharing.
Nailed it. Thank you. See you guys on the next one.
Okay. Cheers.
And yes,